Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome to another review. And of course, as you know, Halloween, the month of October, coming down, and I had done a review for this quite a bit, pretty long time ago. That was when I had the limit of 15 minutes. But I wanted to review this film again. I had seen it about a month or two ago with my friend Mike, OCP, and that was the first time he had seen it, because I wanted to sort of show this to him because I was a fan of. And of course, just recently seeing it again. That is Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. Which, yes, I know this is no cover on it, but I picked this up at Blockbuster years ago, quite a few years ago, and I know they reissued a DVD where the case has the rats on it, which looks like it's a shitty cover. I want to get the one which has this on the cover, so until I get that, I'll keep this. This would be a nice one that Scream Factory should get a hold on. Blu-ray and everything. I mean, if fucking New Year's Evil and the 2002 or such TV remake of Carrie and the Rage Carrie 2 did a 2-pack, and New Year's Evil, why not this? I mean, just my thoughts on it. But Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, it's one of my favorite Stephen King films. It's one of my personal favorite horror films, monster films, creature features. I'm kind of mad at myself for not doing this review before my friend Mike, like doing a longer review. Because pretty much, if you watch his review is going to be similar, very similar to mine. So it's like watching the same thing twice. But that was the first time he had seen it, was like a month or two ago. But again, I grew up with this film since I was a kid. And you know how a lot of times you see interviews with directors or actors and they talk about what got them into it. They saw monster movies back in the day when they were kids, and they mentioned Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, stuff like that. And of course, earlier this month, I had reviewed a bunch of those Universal classic monster movies. Well, this to me is a classic monster movie from my childhood. When they were watching Frankenstein and the Mummy and such, I was watching films like Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. It was monster movies like this that got me into horror films, that got me into monster films, that got me into creature features. It was films like Leviathan and Graveyard Shift, which are two of the films that I'm reviewing very near the last week of October, because those are the kind of movies that got me into monster movies, that got me into horror films in general. And not because I find horror films scary. To be honest, I don't find many horror films scary at all. Even when I was a kid, you count on one hand, maybe the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the opening credits of Aliens. I know, but I was like 7 years old, 6 years old. But not many movies really scare me, to be honest, because I was having fun watching them. Even Nightmare on Elm Street says I was having fun, and this is one of those movies, those monster movies that I love to death. Very near and dear to my heart, not only when I was a kid, but to this day I love the film. And there's only one complaint I have about it, which I'll get into, but other than that, I don't see why Scream Factory couldn't release this or someone else get the rights to this. Um, if fucking New Year's Evil and some of these other movies get it, why not this? But Stephen King's Graveyard Shift film that came out in 1990. I think it came out actually in October of 1990, if I'm could be mistaken. And I would love to have seen this in the theater. It's directed by Ralph S. Singleton. This is a guy that, this is the only film he directed. This is the only film he directed, which is a shame because I don't think he did that bad of a job. And I'm sorry. I know IMDb might as well be in my damn buttocks or whatever the hell name you want to call it, because it's all point of view. And if you don't like the film, seriously, that's fine. If you don't like the film, I don't get it, but it's fine if you don't like the film. And I don't agree with people saying that it's so bad it's good, or it's that bad of a movie. I don't think it's a 4.6 or 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll take this over any of the films coming out today. I just, I disagree with that rating on IMDb. I disagree with the bad reviews. That's my opinion. If you disagree, that's fine. But Ralph L. Singleton, I don't think he deserved not to get another job directing wise, because I thought he did a pretty good job with this. Now, mainly he was a producer. He helped produce stuff like Another 48 Hours and I think Harlem Nights, and or at least he worked on it behind the scenes. Same with Murder at 1600 and I think Clear and Present Danger. He worked behind the scenes on some of those movies. But again, other than a couple episodes of I think Cadney and Lacey, this is the only film he directed. And again, I know I'm not the only one who's a fan of it. Again, my friend Mike, OCP, he just discovered this. He liked it. I know my friend Effrey loves the film to death. I know another good friend, Michael Keane, he did an update a little while back, and he mentioned this film. He mentioned, I think he actually saw this in the theater, you lucky ass. And he enjoyed the film. I don't know if he's seen it again recently. Maybe his thoughts changed on it. But I know in that video he said he really enjoyed this film. Let's see. I know I'm not the only one who enjoys it. I know you're like, well, 6 minutes in, why don't you get to it? Well, I will. Relax. This is going to be a long one because I did a 15-minute review. You can watch that if you want the short version. I'll put the link down below to the short version, as well as a link to a piece of music, which I'll talk about later. But down below you can see the short version. This is a long version because I love the film to death. Why not do an epic long review on a film that I like? Stars David Andrews, and I thought he did a great job as the lead. John Hall, this drifter type character. And he didn't go on to do too much, which is too bad. I know he had a small part in World War Z. He was a commander on this naval ship. And he had a couple scenes with Brad Pitt. But David Andrews didn't get to do too much, which is too bad. I thought he did a good job. He was the strong, silent type. I thought he had a little bit of a presence to him. And people could laugh at me for saying that. I don't care. It's not going to change my mind. I liked him. And I will admit, when I first saw it back then, I'm like, I'm not sure. He seems kind of wooden. But to me, the wooden kind of, to me, turns into, he's more of a strong, silent type. He's low-key. And that's not a bad thing. I will say I grew to like him. When I very first, I'm not sure. But I grew to like him. And again, I really liked him in the role. It's low-key. It's subtle. You also have Kelly Wolf, who might become a love interest, but might not. And I guess out of the cast, she's probably the weakest of the cast, but she was there. You have Brad Dourif as the Exterminator, the Rat Exterminator. He's a lot of fun to watch. I'll get into that. He's a lot of fun to watch. Same thing with Stephen Mott as Warwick, the foreman, who shows over the graveyard shift. Bravo! You gotta get your star search! Everybody go back to doing what you were doing. I love his character. He's a lot of fun to watch. He has this accent that I can't place because it takes place in Maine, but it's almost got like Georgia in it, and it's got the South, but it's got New England, and it's like they've met and fucked and had a baby, and they had this accent. And I remember I was talking with my friend Mike when he first saw it. I watched it with him. I kind of made him watch it, forced him, sit down and watch this. I remember thinking, you know, Stephen Mott, I told him, he's an evil Fred Ward, because Tremors, you had Fred Ward, that same look. This is what Stephen Mott has. He's an evil Fred Ward in this movie. Love his character. He's sort of the human villain of the piece, and I loved it. Let's see. Andrew Divoff has a small role in here as well. The Wishmaster himself. He's been in quite a few other films. Andrew Divoff has a small role. And yeah, Raphael Singleton, I thought did a good job. And I like the cast. I like the cast because they're normal blue-collar folks. And they got a little bit of character to them and their blue-collarness. And I miss that. I miss that in movies. I miss blue-collar casts. People who kind of look normal people and they just act kind of normally and they're just blue-collar folks. I miss that. Seeing that in Alien, seeing that in Tremors, seeing that in Leviathan, seeing that in a few other films. I miss that kind of cast. Now it's something that you see in a catalog. For what store, take your pick. Walmart, Kmart, Sears, Playboy, take your pick. But it just, not my cup of tea. I mean, I don't hate all movies with that, but I prefer this kind of cast. I really do. And I miss that. Let's see, going on. The Store. I really love The Store by Brian Banks and Anthony Marinelli, who did a score to another film I love called Young Guns. Yes, they did the score to Young Guns. I love the score to Young Guns. And I thought they really knocked it out of the park with this one because the score is very low-key and it's very eerie. Has a little choir music to it, like, ah. If you go back and watch my rant on Apollo 18, you hear that little piece of music that looks a little creepy choir type music. That's from this film. And my friend Mike found a little piece of the score that I upload on my other channel, Rambo Raff Films. I'm going to put it down below for you guys to listen to if you want. And I just love it. That's the score that plays in the opening credits. And throughout the film is a very low-key, eerie score. I think eerie is the right word for it. I think it fit the film like a glove. The monster is sort of a bat slash rat type creature. It's kind of features of a rat, but it's got wings like a bat. You see a little bit of it before the reveal in the third act, and I thought it's a really well done practical effects type of creature. It's a great creature. It's an underrated creature because no one ever talks about this creature. There's not many bat rat type creatures. I think it was very well done, very solid practical special effects. And this film wasn't a $40–50 million film. And when it came out, I didn't do anything. To this day, now people like it. I don't get the so bad is good thing. Like Thinner and The Mist and those other films, I think there's a lot more problems in those films than a film like this. But those films get, especially The Mist, I think is a bit overrated. I'll take this monster over the CGI monsters in The Mist. I'm sorry. We agree to disagree on that. You keep the CGI monsters in The Mist. I'll take this practical creature, and I'll keep that. You can have The Mist as a monster movie. I'll take this for monster movies. Just The Mist, I don't hate The Mist, but I think it's a bit overrated. This is my opinion. But, I mean, getting more in depth into the film, another thing I really enjoy is the mood, the set, the atmosphere. It's gritty, it's grimy. Because another link I'll put down below is actually a website I found with a very in-depth review of this film, which seems like another hardcore fan of the film like me. It's nice finding hardcore fans of films that you yourself enjoy as well. So if you happen to be a hardcore fan of this film, the few that are, leave your comments down below and admitting that. I love reading. That's part of the reason why I make videos, is I like hearing from people who enjoy the film. Write down, I enjoy this film. And if you don't like the film, no, you don't have to lie or anything. I'm not going to get mad at people who don't. I'll defend the film. I'll share my opinion, because that involves in conversation, but I'm not here to change people's minds. Any review I do, I just love discussing movies like this. I like doing rants too, but I don't like doing them all the time. I like talking about movies that I have a love for ever since I was a kid, like this movie. Not only because I like the cast and the lead and fun characters with personality like Stephen Mott's Warwick or Brad Dourif as the Brad Exterminator, the eerie score. It's not too long of a film. It's 80-some minutes long. Again, it has a good mood and atmosphere because it takes place at the Bachman Mills, this textile mill, where like someone runs the picker and this chews up this cotton, and the whole environment, it's dirty, it's grimy, it's lived in. You feel like this is a real place, and it has a great, I don't know how to describe it, mood, atmosphere, look to it, with the machines and the way the walls are, and you can almost smell that probably someone pissed in the corner or something in this environment. Even in the third act, when they find this door that goes down into the, below the basement, I should say, in a way, and you see like there's all these catacombs and stuff underneath. It's just a really cool setting. I thought they did a really good job with how they constructed the set and the look of it. I really liked it. Some people may not think it's much, but I don't know, something about it, I really like the look. And yes, I know this is based on a short story. I think the short story isn't worth much of shits. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, except I think it dealt a little bit more with mutant creatures of, like, I think albino, and some were bat, like, different types. Some were bat, more like bat, some was more like rat. I think maybe the queen was more like a bat. I can't remember. I know the ending, pretty much, the lead guy and the Warwick type character, they both die, and then the others are upstairs, and they come down, and pretty much they're going to die too. So it's a downbeat ending. I'm glad they didn't do that for this. And to be honest, I don't. The short story, I don't think it's better than this. I'm sorry. The short story wasn't much of anything to me. I think this is a good adaptation. I remember hearing one point that Tom Savini was going to do this film, but of course, 1990, that was Night of the Living Dead came out. I'm fine because I like the 1999 Night of the Living Dead, and I love this movie. Now, granted, I wouldn't mind to see what Tom Savini would have done with it, but I'm glad to get the film that I have. I really am. And we got, two good films. But I would say I love this film more. It's a personal love of mine. And I don't like it just because of nostalgia. I'm giving you actual reasons to why I like it. But getting even more in depth into the film, I love even the way it sets it up, where you have this guy and you have the environment, the Bachman Mills, this plant, this mill is like right on top of this hill, just like the way when they have certain shots of that. And you have this asshole, which he even told Mike, hey, that's Matt McCoy. It's not Matt McCoy, but it looks like Matt McCoy. It's an actor who's been in stuff like Deep Star 6 and Abominable. So he looks like Matt McCoy. And Mike's like, oh, yeah, he does. He's doing the job, the picker, where you put the cotton and just shreds it up. And a nice little touch is that from time to time, all these rats sort of converge and start watching. And I thought whoever was the rat wrangler did a good job, because having all those rats line up probably wasn't too easy. And at times you see like tons of rats lined up and staring at this character. And he's like, oh, welcome to school, boys and girls. And he's like, I'm going to teach them a lesson. And they pissed on a chair that he had. And he takes one and dangles it and puts it right in the thresher. Not a real one, you don't see anything, but puts it down and then cuts, and you see that like there's little bits of blood, so it got shredded up. And he tries to get all the rats to get out of there. He's like, oh, I guess we need another example. And he gets another rat, and this guy's being pretty much an asshole. And he gets his comeuppance because a big shadow comes, and he thinks it's someone, but it's something, and he just pretty much pushed into this damn shredder, and just chunks of flesh, of the blood, and you see like just body parts are left over, and then like up close of this, one of the rats. I don't know, just the way the shredding just reveals all this blood and chunks of body parts. And then it cuts to the opening credits where Stephen King's Graveyard Shift in red letters, and then it drips down in blood. And all that going on with that very eerie score, that very subtle, very low key, but very eerie. Love the score. Wish it was officially released in a soundtrack. Have the piece of score that my friend Mike has, but I wish it was released on an actual score. It would have been great. I love the way even the opening credits, it's very nice look at the location where there's like a cemetery and the look of the mill and up close of gravestones and slow pans going through them, showing the environment, showing the Bachman Mills up on sort of like this hill. I really enjoy it. I thought it was a nice, eerie sequence. I thought it was well done, and it's like, this director never got a job again? He does opening credits better than I've seen people do entire fucking movies. I guarantee if I see fucking Annabelle from the director of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I'll feel the same way. Not because I saw this in a kid and it's nostalgic, but I'm like, this opening credits alone is well directed, more than some fucking, not flashy, it doesn't need to do much, it's doing just enough. And you have Brad Dourif's character having some fun stuff. Again, he's trying to get these rats out, gets them out into the river, and say, God damn! Adios, motherfuckers! Brad Dourif is such a joy to watch in this movie. In an alternate universe, I would like to have seen the movie in which he was the star of this movie from beginning to end. I kind of wish to see that movie. I still enjoy the movie that I have here, but I kind of wish to see that movie where he was the main star. I would love to have seen that. I really would. But he was a lot of fun to watch in this. And you're introduced to John Hall, David Andrews' character, who's a drifter who's coming to town, wants a job. And, he gets hassle from people at the diner, Andrew Devoff, and then this bigger guy called Rogan. They give him shit, even to a point later in the film, they put like a dead rat in his food. He builds up a little bit of a relationship with Kelly Wolf. Doesn't lead to any sex or anything like that. And this film didn't need that. But you get a little bit of a relationship with them, which is fine. Probably not the most interesting part of the movie, but okay, I like David Andrews in the film. Meets up with Stephen Mott's character. Again, Stephen Mott's character, man, just a lot of fun to watch. And just the way he does his accent, he just attacks the scene, and he just really goes for it. You can tell he's not just there to phone it in. It's like he's really eating this role up, and I love it. And even like attacking an apple when he's biting it, or I've watched you work and I liked your style. And pretty much John Hall gets the job at the textile mill, and Stephen Mott's like, "You're a drifter, but I got no guarantees with a drifter." I just like his performance. I love his performance. It's fun to watch. That's what I'm talking about. Fun. Fun. Something that I miss in movies called fun. F-U-N. It's not hard to spell. Something called fun. Something that's not in a lot of horror movies, especially in today's age. Fun. F-U-N. For fuck's sake. But anyway. Even talks about how, if you get hired, you run the picker. That bastard ain't been touched since Christ was a kid. I don't mind the dialogue in this film. I don't think it's that bad at all. And just fun scenes with Stephen Mott. You have one guy who's downstairs, and pretty much there's going to be a 4th of July, and a lot of people are going to be out, but he wants a team who's going to come in and really clean up the basement, because there's all this shit there, and if they don't, it might get condemned, and all this other stuff. So he needs to get a team who will work the 4th of July type of holiday. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. I'm trying to think. And there's like one guy working there, and he thinks someone's fucked with him. He keeps hearing some stuff. And again, my friend Mike said this in his review, and I agree. I like the fact that it's a build-up for revealing the creature. They don't show it all. Hell, people love the Universal Classic Monster movies, and I do too. I reviewed a lot of them. I like Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, and such. But a lot of those movies, there's a shitload of build-up. The Wolfman, you don't see him until maybe 50 minutes or so into the movie, and it's only like an hour and 9-minute movie or such. The Mummy, he's only in it for like a minute, and then it's just Boris Karloff with a little bit of makeup. But the Mummy, the actual Mummy's only in it for a minute. But those are deemed classics, and I like the Wolfman okay. But people are like, well, there's not a lot of the monster in this. Well, there's enough. But like one gets the pass, one gets. I know it's all personal preference. That's just how everything is. I'm fine with this. I'm fine with the build-up. Because when you reveal the creature, it's a really cool-looking creature. And there's some really cool stuff. In this scene here, you get little bits of the creature, and it has this wing and grabs the guy, and you see very cool image of the face being imprinted over the wing. And he's just shaking, shaking, shuddering, little bit of blood. And I thought it was a cool scene. Well done, practical effects, subtle, but I would call that subtle. And I thought it worked fine. And even later on, you got another guy, and he's like, "Why would the other guy that was here?" And Stephen Mott's like, "He didn't work out." Because apparently this plant, this mill, there's a lot of missing people, but people just assume that they quit because it really does seem like a shitty job. So I believe it. They're like, really? But when you see this job and the environment that they're working at, that's why I use like grimy and gritty. You can understand why someone would quit this job and why they probably have a lot of people quitting and shit. But let's see. I like when David Andrews is working and like the rat's coming in like in the opening, and he has this thing where he has these empty soda cans, and he uses a slingshot and he fucking shoots a couple rats right in the face. And there's Brad Dourif. Damn, that's a good shooting. And just the whole scene between David Andrews and Brad Dourif is a great scene. It's a great scene. I love the scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Brad Dourif tells a story about, he's a rat exterminator and talking about the situation. And he goes like, this place is infested. And David Andrews like, yeah, that may be the understatement of the year. You better not let that schmuck boss tell you that. And just Brad Dourif, even small roles like this, not every role. Alien Resurrection, I don't think it was a good role. I think I blame the script for that. But Brad Dourif in a small role like this, he just does a great job because he talks about Vietnam, and he says a great line like, "And I ain't one of them burning baby flashback fuck ups you see Bruce Stern playing, so quit you grinning." And he's talking about we share land, we share food with the fuckers, and they turn around stabbing us in the back by going to work for the VC. You know what a VC rat eats? Raw American. Hold the mayo. Thank you. About how, they dig him into the wound, they stake the guy like he's Jesus. And they stick the rat into the open wound that they cut. And there's nowhere he can go but inside. And he's crawling and he hears that thumping. Something that's so warm, so juicy. So they talk about, the guy's heart. And just Bruce, I was going to say Bruce Stern. Brad Dourif does a fantastic job. I think it's actually a pretty well written scene. It's a great dialogue scene. Brad Dourif pulls it off, even to the point he even fucking has a tear going down. And it's not silly. It's a great scene. That's why in an alternate reality, I would love to see him in the lead or such. But he does a great job when he's there. And I also love David Andrews' reaction because after all that, because Brad Dourif's last line is, well, you say I'm a little bit prejudiced. David Andrews has this look that goes like he's like this, like he has that shift of his eyes, like what the hell am I supposed to say now? Like after hearing a story like that, and it's like might not appeal to anyone else, but I like that little look, like what the fuck am I supposed to say? I thought that worked well as a straight man type of guy. I thought that worked really well. But movie goes on. You have this lady who doesn't want to go down there, and she even smashes the shit out of Stephen Mott's car. And they have a little argument about stuff. Show's over. Go back to doing what you were doing. I love Stephen Mott's character, and he even looks like he's going to smack this lady, and David Andrews, being a good guy, stops him. You have scenes like one of the workers is actually making fun of Stephen Mott and the way he talks. Oh, it's like 5 o'clock. I would go mess with the college boy. Bravo! Bravo! Now we can get you that audition on Star Search. I mentioned that a few times and stuff because just the way Stephen Mott does it, does the pump of the arm. It's just a lot of fun to watch. And again, David Andrews, he pulls it off because when you have that crazy energy, you should have a straight guy. Just, a straight guy who's a strong, silent type. Because it just, I think it works well. And I think the environment that they're in. That lady I'm talking about that smashed the shit out of his car. She gets killed later on by the monster. I like the idea that she's fallen, she can't move, and all these rats are just nibbling on her, and you just see blood leaking out of her as the monster comes for her. So I'm trying. I don't want to miss anything. I could probably do a jump. There's one scene, a little bit of build up before it, because Brad Dourif talks with Stephen Mott, and Stephen Mott goes, "When's the last time you've been to a graveyard?" Gets Brad Dourif to go into the graveyard to do this little bit of a job. And this is I was hesitating because I'm thinking about it, and that it's the one complaint I have about this movie. The one complaint I have about this film is what happens with Brad Dourif's character, and that's how he dies. In a way, it's grisly. I like that, but pretty much there's this big motherfucking coffin, and it pretty much slams into his face, his head. It smooshes his head, and not only smooshes, just the idea that it slides down, and when it slides down, it reveals this brain and blood. I don't know, just the way that it went in with the sound effects, and when it goes down, it just leaves this brain and just like blood. I don't know. It may not seem much, but just that little detail, just the fact that the sliding, just something about the sliding, the grinding down, just, it's like, I know it sounds stupid. I just see people getting heads cut off. It's nothing, but that little thing is. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, the creature didn't even kill him. At least have the creature kill him. I mean, or even have the creature take that fucking coffin and go, slam it into him or something. But it would have been nice to see him live to the end of the film and help maybe the David Andrews character, or you think he dies, and then he comes back in the third act to save David Andrews. But I like little, I don't want to call it effects, but the death is grisly for me. But it's like, oh man, I like that character. He died, and it would have been nice to see him, get killed by the monster or something else. But I don't even know why the thing collapsed and then the coffin slid into his head. I don't know. I don't know. That's my one complaint on the film. Weirdly enough, kind of like Leviathan, but at least Ernie Hudson survived till the end of the film, but then he dies. I have one complaint about that film and one complaint about this film. There are two films I'm talking about, two of my favorite monster creature features. They have the same complaint. But, I forgive it for that because I like everything else about the film. And I like David Andrews. I think if I hated David Andrews, hated him to death, he was like Marky Mark, which I'm not a fan of him, or someone else like that, then I'd probably hate it more. But because I like David Andrews. And then also, that's sort of where it starts with our third act, where you have like this big guy who has this damn rodent, who has this hose that pretty much is like his cock, it seems. He just coming all around. Ah! Fuck up rats left and right. I don't know. I mean, for me, this film has a bit of personality and character to it. That's why I liked it as well. Just little things, whether it be stuff like that made me chuckle, and Stephen Motz and Brad Dourif and stuff like that. And they find they're cleaning up shit, and they find this door underneath, and they open it, and it leads into our third act where there's catacombs underneath this mill. And I like the way the set is, and that is catacombs, and later on you have a couple of matte paintings which I really enjoy, and it's definitely grimy and gritty. Grimy is a good word for it. It is a good word. I think I was starting to mention this before, but I forgot to. There's going to be another link down below of a review, a website review of someone who seems such a bigger fan as I am. So if you're a big fan of the film, feel free to read the website review of that. I thought it was a pretty fun review for a film that I love as well. But even that scene, like Stephen Mott just crawls in and is like, "Well, you got kids," and I love that David Andrews is like, "Well, you know what? I want you to come with me because hey, if I find some treasure down there, I want to be accused of stealing, and you know the foreman should be with me, right, Warwick?" I like that David Andrews did that. I like that David Andrews, he's helping out. He, stopped Stephen Mott from hitting that woman. Rodian was fucking with this guy, and David Andrews stops him. And I like that, okay, he's a good guy. He's strong and silent, but, he is a good guy. Sometimes that's more than enough for a movie for me. It is. And they go down. And I just love the way this whole third act, one of them finds his hand and he crashes through the stairs, goes right to the bottom, where it's like almost like this pool, which becomes like blood red. And he's like, "There's something down." And he just pulled down, revealed this blood over his face. David Andrews and Kelly Wolf are separated from Andrew Divoff, Stephen Mott, and this other guy. One guy puts his arm, does the stupid thing, granted, but he gets it bitten off, and when he pulls off, this nub, bloody nub, and this fucking skin and blood flying around. I like that. I love Andrew Divoff's death scene because I love this build up for it. This is one of those scenes I remember. It's another favorite scene of mine. I always remember ever since I was a kid. As he gets this lighter, Andrew Divoff, he hears something, just a lighter, and he turns it. And that's where you get that music in. Very subtle, not overbearing. To me, eerie score. It works, fits the film like a glove, and he turns it and just reveals the face and mouth of the monster and grabs him, takes him down. This is where Stephen Mott's even going crazier. I mean, he's fucking taking bottles, rubbing his face, and he trips, falls somewhere, and gets himself knocked out for later use, while our other two leads, I like the fact they're in this blood red pool. They're like waist deep in the blood red, and they're carrying this coffin, and this fucking bag of bone just falls out. This corpse falls out of it, and they find the lair. And I love the way this lair looks because it's a shitload of bones everywhere. Huge, humongous pile of bones. Like this creature's been there for decades and decades. And I love the wide shot where it reveals the whole thing of the lair, and it rises up, and you see the Bachman Mills up there. And I thought, a really cool matte painting. I miss matte paintings. Matte paintings look cool. I only know it's a matte painting because I do research and stuff, at least a little bit. But I thought it was cool. I think Albert Whitlock had a hand in the matte paintings. I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong, but I think Albert Whitlock had a hand in it. Yeah, I could be wrong. And if that's the case, hey, Jar Jar's the Thing. Another monster movie I love. And, Jar Jar's the Thing is my favorite horror film of all time. But I love this. This is one of my favorites, this one here. And they find Stephen Mott, and he becomes an asshole, and he's fucking psycho. He was an asshole before, he's psycho now, trying to kill them. I think you get a decent hand-to-hand battle between... I mean, when I say that, it's not fucking Bourne, or it's not fucking Bourne's Identity, or hugely choreographed tons of punches and stuff, but I think it's a nice little scuffle. That's probably the best way to describe it. Stephen Mott tries to jump him, and he throws Stephen Mott, and hitting each other with bones and stuff, or skulls, using skulls to hit the other in the head. And I think this is a very ballsy thing they did, because if you think about it, it's not done too often, where you think it's going to be the guy and the girl, but no, Stephen Mott fucking jams a bone right into her stomach, and not only jams it, but like drives it in, killing Kelly Wolf. To me, that's a ballsy move, and it was surprising. At least the very first time I saw it, just, ooh, you're not expecting that. Because usually it's like, hey, the guy and girl lives. Or, the girl lives, or the guy and girl lives, or more than one person lives. Even, the Terror Within. I mean, even Jar Jar's the Thing, he had two guys. Deep Blue Sea had two guys. Of course, Alien, you had one girl, one woman. Terror Within, you had a guy and girl. Leviathan, you had a guy and a girl. Feast, you had a couple. It's not too many monster movies, not too many monster movie creature features that has just one guy left standing. It's not too many. I mean, unless you count maybe Evil Dead, if you want to call it, but Evil Dead flicks. But there's not a lot of monster movie creature features that have that. I mean, Tremors has a group of people, and Feast has a group, like 2 or 3 people. I think like 3 or so people. And the fact that the girl died, sort of the love interest, is, I think, kind of surprising. It's ballsy when you think about it. I like that. And, of course, and David Andrews gets pissed. It's just, Warwick! Chases after him, and Warwick runs like a bitch. And this is where you get the full reveal of the creature, and it's a beautiful practical effect. It's a beautiful creation. I think it's a great practical effect. I think it's an awesome monster. It's a very underrated monster because no one ever talks about it. And it's a great reveal. And Stephen Mott tries to kill it with a knife. We're going to hell together! But he fucks up. He fucked up. And he gets pretty much the most vicious death because he's Warwick. Because you see, he grabs him and clawing him right in his chest. And even Steve Mott's trying to bite the creature. I like that. And this thing comes out, not his dick, but it has this hook. Sort of, not hook, but a claw. It's like slimy and just sort of like eviscerates him. Just and I thought it was pretty well done. Now, I don't know if any gore got cut out from the MPAA. If it did, I would love to see it. I know there's TV versions that, if I understand, only has like a couple minutes of dialogue, a moment at the end, which I'll get to. But I still like to see those because I'm a fan of the movie. But I don't know if any gore was cut out. I don't know. If it is, I would love to see it, but it's Paramount. They didn't save the footage for Friday the 13th Part 7. You think they're going to save footage for this? Fuck no. Because Paramount are a pair of pricks. Paramount who released this. This fucking little thing right there. Paramount. Pair of pricks. Can't have the Friday the 13th Part 7 uncut because they're sorry ass not saving the footage. They don't give a fuck about this movie. But, I even love the fact that when David Andrews sees, and you see like the monster rolling like the little bits of Warwick in its mouth and chomping the rest of it, and David Andrews gets the fuck out of there. He gets the fuck out of there, gets the fuck out of there, and I love the finale. He thinks he's safe, and the monster crashes through. He's on top of him. What separates him is pretty much the wooden type stuff of the picker, and it's clawing through, trying to get him. Crawling and crashes through from his head, trying to bite his ass. David Andrews gets a hook and is fucking hooking his ass. You have a nice callback to earlier with the slingshot with the soda cans. Diet Pepsi this time. Usually you see Pepsi, like evil Pepsi, but no, this is good Pepsi. Well, actually, Diet Pepsi is pretty shitty taste, but at movies they're good. This is used for good. That's a reference to something my friends and I did a long time ago in a commentary for The Outing, where the last scene in the movie, a girl gets scared by Pepsi truck. A Pepsi truck noise. So, evil Pepsi! And the movie was so evil, it was probably made by evil Pepsi. But I guess, it's diet, so this is used for good. I love his line, there's only one way to deal with these fuckers. That's kind of a reference to a line Brad Dourif said, but I love that. He's trying, he's missing, gets last soda, because he's trying to get this button, because by this time the monster is his tail is hooked into the picker, and he's trying to hit the button. He can't get to it. There's only one way to deal with these fuckers. Shoots it, hits, and great death of the monster. A lot of times you see a monster get blown up, like Jaws or Deep Blue Sea, or even The Thing or Leviathan. Uh, some of the creatures in Tremors. But it's nice to see sort of different. It gets munched up by this machine, and you see blood flying everywhere, guts of the creature being chewed up. This death shrill of a scream that even David Andrews has to put his hand over his head, over his ears, and fucks the monster up. Bloody, gory, very satisfying. And I know there was a deleted scene, I guess, on a TV version. I've never seen this. I would like to see it, where he actually punched out the time card of him and Kelly Wolf, and then he walked out. But you didn't need that because it wouldn't make sense. But at the fact he's killed the monster, all that's left is the fucking monster's head, or what's left of his head. And David Andrews is sort of sitting there like shell shot. And you know, someone said when the monster's dead, the movie is over. And pretty much the movie's over. You have I think this film has a little bit of a sense of humor to it as well. I mean, the last shot is a woman who works there putting up a sign that says "Under New Management," and then you have that great rap. It's kind of a rap, just using dialogue from the film, like "The graveyard shift show's over." Yeah, da da dum dum boom boom ba da boom boom boom. The graveyard shift. When's the last time you've been to a graveyard? The graveyard. I love that. That is personality right there for a film. I'm sorry. You can hate it all you want, but that right there is special. It's different. And just because it's different doesn't mean it's good. But that's unique for that film as well. I mean, I think there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more to this film than people give it credit. You just say, well, you give it too much credit. Well, it's a film I love. No shit. If you don't like the film, oh well. Go watch the other 10 videos that hate this movie. They're up on YouTube, I'm sure. But I love the film to death. Um, I thought David Andrews did a good job as the strong silent type. Stephen Mott was a lot of fun to watch. Brad Dourif, granted, him dying is my one complaint of the movie, but when he's there, he's a lot of fun to watch. I think the setting and the environment has a great grimy, grit atmosphere to it that is, use a big word, palpable. It's like you can almost smell it. And I like that. I thought it's a good look to the film of the catacombs underneath. Some fun lines of dialogue. I mean, again, the last line, there's only one way to deal with these fuckers. I like the fact that he's using a soda can and a slingshot to kill the monster. I think that's a cool thing. It kind of takes you back to, you know, that's what a kid would do. Like a kid would use a slingshot. And, you know, seeing a monster movie when I was a kid, it's like, maybe that's what I would do if I was there. I had a slingshot. It's fun. I love it. It's a lot of fun for me to watch. It's only 80-some minutes, so it's an easy sit-through. I love, again, I like the cast. I love the score. Eerie score, very low-key. Fits the film like a glove. I think Ralph L. Singleton, if I could ever meet the guy, I would tell you, hey, Ralph, I think you did a great job. I love the film to death. And this is not a guilty pleasure. I'm sorry. For me. This is not a guilty pleasure for me. I didn't say I proudly love Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. I don't think I'm alone. Just once in a while I find an audio commentary, a fan commentary online, either from two guys from Arrow in the Head or two guys from another website. I know my friend Effrey loves it. I know a guy who comments a lot on my stuff. He's always a good guy. Another guy named I Live Again 1. He's a big fan of the movie. My friend Mike is a fan of the movie. Michael Keane, he's a fan of the movie. So I know I'm not the only fan of the movie. I love to find all the fans of this movie and get them to comment down below just so that people can see, hey, we're not alone. We're a select group. And again, if you don't like the film, that's fine. You're not wrong for not liking the film. But I'm just saying that for people who go, well, you're stupid for liking that. Well, then I guess I'm stupid. But I'm having fun, so I'd rather be fun and stupid than not having fun and smart. Go my pow. But anyway. Love the film. Wow, I taught him for 50 minutes. I think I beat my friend Mike's. I think my friend Mike only had 36 minutes. I think I beat it. It wasn't even on purpose. But yeah, I love this film. I want to get it someday with a cover that has this cover on it. So one day I'd like to get a cover on this. But and this DVD doesn't even have the fucking trailer. I mean, the trailer's on YouTube, but this DVD doesn't even have the fucking trailer. It just has the movie and scene selection and subtitles. That's it. At least it's in widescreen, but it's definitely rated R. Anyway, I don't know what more I can say about Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. I've talked for 50 minutes, but hey, I'm a big fan of this movie. Just like I'm a big fan of a few other movies. I love talking about movies I love. Why not have the longest review of it? Doesn't mean it's the best review, but hey, if I had the longest review of Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, that is something I'm proud of, because some people grew up with Frankenstein, Wolfman, The Mummy, those kind of monster movies. These are the kind of monster movies I grew up with and still enjoy to this day. Not because I just saw them when I was a kid, but because of everything that I said for the past 51 minutes. And I don't repeat myself. Either way, love the film to death. I have no shame in that. Never will. Thanks for watching. Take care. And show's over.